All right.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon if you're in some other time zone than mine. We want to welcome you to our 38th online gathering for Synod and rostered lay leaders. This monthly gathering is called Coaching for All Seasons and is sponsored by our Pacifica Synod coaches. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sarah Tees. I am a coach for Pacifica Synod, and I am one of your facilitators today. And our coaching team has cultivated this monthly gathering for church leaders across the Synod, across the church. We hope you find this helpful as you navigate caring ministry in your communities. This is meant to be a time of insight and learning, and it is meant to be a brave space for you to feel capable of safely acknowledging who you are and how you are doing. So at this moment, I would like to introduce one of my fellow coaches, Daryl Kozak, to give us an introduction to our presenter today. Daryl, thank you so much for recommending this important topic of AI and the church.
Well, thank you, Sarah. And yeah, it's my honor to be able to have presenting Jonathan Reitz. I think many of us know him very well. I mean, he's probably a man that doesn't need any introduction, but I will say one thing that, he of course is a master certified coach, which he earned several years ago. And he's also has an advanced certification in team coaching, both of those through the International Coaching Federation. A lot of us have received training from him. I've known him for 7 or 8 years. Great guy, not only as a leader and mentor, but just an all-around cool guy, I will say. One thing I do want to say before I turn this over to him, because I want to make sure we have as much time with him as possible, is he, of course, is the author of Coaching Hacks. And we can see that many of us are holding up our volumes there that we have in front of us. Many of us have the hard copy or the paperback as well as the Kindle version or the ebook version. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce and again welcome our dear friend Jonathan Reitz to Pacifica Synod Coaching for All Seasons.
Daryl, thank you very much for the introduction. I loved seeing the copies of the book. It was a labor of love. It took way longer than it should have to finish, but when something is that important to you, you work hard on it. You work extra hard on making sure it's captured correctly and things along and reflects what you actually wanted to say. I am very happy to tell you that Coaching Hacks came out originally in 2017. It's still selling on a regular basis, and I have given away literally every cent that the book has ever generated as a part of the commitment to the process, mostly toward urban ministry causes, in the majority of them in Cleveland, but we will break the $20,000 mark in proceeds from Coaching Hacks later this year, because we're about that far short. I think we're at $19,991 right now in total proceeds, and literally every cent of that has been given away for purposes of advancing urban ministry causes in a number of different areas, mostly in Cleveland. So thanks for being a part of that story. Thanks for celebrating that with me, and thanks for being a part of the Coaching Hacks process and moving forward on some of those meaningful things. Now, that is not why we're here today. I'm excited about this particular topic. And when Daryl reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you talk about this?" I said, "Absolutely. This is a tremendous and interesting set of applications. Church life and artificial intelligence. Blessed union or rocky road." Now, many of you, I'm going to speculate, are saying, "Well, Jonathan, why would you talk about this?" Well, as Daryl mentioned, I am a member of the original ELCA cadre of coaches, former ELCA coaching coordinator. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the important stuff. Why I'm talking about AI. The truth of it is I am an International Coaching Federation subject matter expert on artificial intelligence. I've been engaged with a panel of coaches from all around the world studying the potential effects of artificial intelligence on the coaching world. And interestingly enough, that has gotten me invited into conversations about AI in medicine, and very recently AI in discipleship, in training of disciples to live more faithfully on earth, and the kingdom of heaven that's here on earth. And that has been a fascinating conversation. We'll get into a little bit of that moving forward. I am convinced, and I'll just say this flat out, I am convinced that AI can be a partner in efforts for the gospel in a lot of different ways. And since we are talking about artificial intelligence and some of the ways that we can collaborate with artificial intelligence, I'm going to show you the most recent collaboration I have had with my headshot and artificial intelligence. This is how I think of myself. I just want you to know that in my head, when I have that self-image, it looks a lot like this. And artificial intelligence is helping me bring that to life. I'm not sure where else that would live, but other than in my head, because I don't know, not that much resemblance actually, but this is how I think about it. So with that in mind, as we think about all of the various possibilities, let us pray. Heavenly Father, as Lutheran church leaders in the Pacific Synod, we gather in your presence, seeking guidance in this hour of exploration into what impact artificial intelligence might have on our ministry. Holy Spirit, be our guiding light as we discern how AI may affect our church leadership. Grant us wisdom, discernment, and a heart aligned with your will. May our choices honor your teachings and advance your mission of love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. I have a confession. ChatGPT actually wrote that prayer. Last night, as I was getting ready for this conversation, I put this prompt into ChatGPT. You're a Lutheran church leader who's become attuned to artificial intelligence. Write a prayer that opens a 1-hour session about how AI might affect church leadership. Be sure to ask the Holy Spirit to guide the conversation. I am convinced, based on the results of this prompt, that ChatGPT is Lutheran. Because this is the response I got. Lengthy. I had to say, hey, preacher, tone it down a little bit. I sent it a follow-up prompt and said, that's great. Now edit the prayer so it's less than 100 words. And that's the prayer that you saw, that you heard me deliver. Almost word for word. I did add, unintentionally, for whatever reason, I don't. You would think for a guy whose first career was in radio and television, I would read a script pretty well, but I stumbled on it twice, and I added a reference to the Pacific Synod. I got a little bit out of order, but you know what? I looked at it and I thought to myself, that's pretty good. That's actually pretty solid for it. And I think there are some lessons we can learn from that moment to push forward. Mukesh, yes, I will happily send a PDF of these slides to Daryl at the end of the when we're done. I will send them to you as I deliver them, and I've got way more than I actually need here, so I'm not going to send you the whole deck, but I'll send you the what we actually use in the course of this conversation. All right, so just out of curiosity, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so I can see everybody for a moment here. Just out of curiosity, based on that little bit of experience with ChatGPT, what do you think? What did you think of the computer-generated prayer? And be honest. I'm seeing some of this. That's good. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. It was okay. It was good. was good enough. I got a thumbs up. Appreciate that, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have thoughts about what that prayer brought to mind?
There was no
Jonathan, I assumed that you had written it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, not bad.
It sounded like a human voice.
Yeah, not bad.
Deacon Beth, what did you say?
I said there was no heresy.
Well, you know, the interesting thing along those lines, Beth, is I was prepared to have to re-prompt if necessary. I was prepared to have to do it again if necessary. But that's literally the first thing that came out of, well, full disclosure, that really long one was the first prayer that came out. And that, I mean, we'd still be praying, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we'd still be praying if I had read the prayer the way it came out originally. Yeah, not bad, not bad. So potentially there is some useful contribution that ChatGPT can make. And I appreciate what Jill's saying. It feels like it was a good starting point. Yeah, not bad at all. Now, here's the big thing I'm hoping you'll take away from this conversation over the next 45 minutes or so is, yes, it can be very helpful to think about artificial intelligence in general and ChatGPT in particular as a tool you might use. But I want to turn that around. You don't have to, but it might be useful. I want to turn that a little bit on its ear. And rather than thinking about ChatGPT or, Mid-Journey, we're going to see some samples from Mid-Journey in a pretty useful way. I want to challenge you to think about those as a co-collaborator under circumstances that you choose, because there are possibilities for how these tools could help you be a little more effective moving forward. So with that in mind, let's take a look at where we're heading in the course of the conversation over the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to look at a couple of different key areas. First of all, I want to spend a minute just on how AI works, because artificial intelligence is a big, broad term, and there's lots of stuff being thrown around. I want to just make sure we're all talking about the same thing. Now, we're going to explore the potential impact of artificial intelligence on churches. I don't think this is a game changer for us, but I think it's a helpful and useful tool. We're gonna dive into some ideas about what that might look like, and then I'm going to actually suggest some things that might be helpful for you to consider as you consider what AI might do in your church, or maybe even in your coaching practice, especially as you coach other church leaders. I think there are definitely some possibilities there. So that's where we're going to go over the course of the next 45 minutes or so. So let's jump into it. What's really going on with AI? Basically, we're going to spend like the first chapter of a book where we define all the terms, because the details, the very specifics of what OpenAI or Microsoft or one of the early AI firms was a company called DeepMind. Google owns them now. We're not going to dive into all of those kinds of nuts and bolts and all that kind of stuff. But there are some key ideas that I think are pretty important for us to understand as we dive into what AI is actually doing in the faith development landscape. So here we go. The types of artificial intelligence. The big thing we're hearing about today are things called large language models. ChatGPT works on a large language model. And basically what this says is it takes a giant amount of data, like every edition of the New York Times ever, every magazine, every newspaper, every website, and you process those through the AI machine that has deep learning capabilities, and it begins to get a sense of what words go in what order. That's all ChatGPT is. Even though it can be very compelling, it doesn't actually know the things it's talking to us about. Now, in a few minutes, we're going to go over to ChatGPT. We're going to put some things, we're going to put some prompts in there to get a sense of how this might work. We're going to look at some of the particular details, some of the particular pieces. Now, let your mind rest. It doesn't actually know what it's talking about. What it does know, it doesn't understand what it's talking about. Let's say it that way. What it does understand is what words typically go in what order. And if you train ChatGPT, you can make it sound very much like you. And that can be a tremendous time saver if you use that correctly. However, it's not going to change. It's not going to replace you, at least not this year. It's not, well, it might actually write your sermon for you, but it's not going to deliver it. It's not going to do the core human things that you do, not anytime soon. So these tools are collaborators, and large language models understanding, what words typically go together in what order. And when we're talking about some of these things, what does that look like? That's the entry point, which leads us to artificial narrow intelligence, which are things like AI designed to complete something very specific. But it can't really learn. It doesn't have deep learning capabilities. These are things like image recognition. Have you seen those apps for your phone that you can point the camera on the phone at an animal, and it will tell you what animal that is, or at a flower? That's what we're talking about here. That's artificial narrow intelligence. It's bringing in information, and it's matching it to an existing collection of data. To be honest with you, self-driving cars are the same. That's exactly what a self-driving car is. It's been programmed how to handle the various types of road, types of terrain, and it knows what to do. Siri is artificial narrow intelligence, and I just triggered her on my computer. When I said her by name, the little speak to me prompt popped up, and then she realized that I wasn't actually talking to her. Narrow AI typically does one task, and it doesn't have the ability to learn beyond that. All right. Next up, artificial general intelligence. This is where the AGI is where an artificial intelligence. I just triggered your Alexa. Yeah, Alexa is another artificial narrow intelligence. That's it exactly. This is where artificial general intelligence is where the AI can do basically what a human does. It doesn't really exist today. We don't have that capability. Now, computer scientists, AI specialists have been saying AGI, artificial general intelligence, is 3 years away. They've been saying that since about 1978. It continues being 3 years away. I spoke to somebody last night, a computer scientist friend of mine, who said flat out, yeah, at least 3 years away. So now they're saying at least 3 years. So this is one of those situations where, and how much does this parallel the life of faith? The more we learn, the more we realize we don't know. I think that's fair to say is what's going on in the AI world. Now, the difference between artificial general intelligence and artificial narrow intelligence is that artificial general intelligence typically has deep learning capabilities, which means it picks up new skills as they execute their software, as they take in new information. And generally speaking, they teach themselves. Generative AI is the entry point into this particular area, like ChatGPT, etc. Designed to learn, think, and perform at similar levels to humans. The next level, artificial superintelligence, the ability to surpass the capabilities of humans. It's all speculation at this point. Doesn't actually exist. So that's kind of the continuum we're on. There are, however, reactive machines, AI capable of reacting to external stimuli, chess simulators. Or AI that has limited memory. They can store knowledge and use it to learn for future tasks. That's really where we are today. We're getting good at that, but it's not anywhere close to what human capability is yet. And if the AI is listening and remembering me saying that for future reference, I apologize. Please don't turn me over to my robot overlords quite yet. All right. Finally, last two that are well out of the reach right now. Theory of mind is AI that can sense and respond to human emotions, identify them, plus perform the tasks of limited memory machines, and begin to shape elsewhere. It's a number of years away, as well as so is self-aware AI. So all of these various levels are tremendously. It's important to have some sense of what we're talking about here. And the three that we're really dealing with, we're looking at limited memory, artificial general intelligence, and large language models. That's really what we're dealing with. And we're not going to get any more technical than that. I'm just going to name those. This is the level of technology we're dealing with. Now, let's do the more fun stuff. Let's look at what you can do with AI, especially in light of church environment. Now, I did two things to prepare for this. The first thing was I polled about 30 pastor friends of mine. Actually, I'm trying to think if anybody that's in the room here was in this survey. I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so. So if you were in the survey, smile and nod along because you already got a copy of the results. You know what I'm going to say. So I surveyed about 30 of my pastor friends from a number of different denominations and said, hey, give me ideas for what we might do with AI, knowing that we're dealing with large language models, that we're dealing with artificial general intelligence, and we're dealing with limited memory. And these are the 7 ideas that came from my crowd of pastors, the crowdsourcing from pastors. So here we go. I'm just going to put them all up on the screen one at a time. We're going to spend a little bit of time looking at a bunch of these. We're going to spend some time with a bunch of these. Now, we're not going to do outreach and evangelism, because you're Lutheran. And no, I'm teasing. That was a joke. We're not going to do outreach and evangelism just because, when I show you how we're going to address the first 5, it'll make a little more sense why we're not going to do outreach and evangelism. And we're not going to do language translation and accessibility because it's kind of obvious how that works, how that would work. But these are the 7 ideas that my crowd of pastors said, hey, these would probably be the key component. These would probably be the key target areas. So let's look at the first several of these. We're going to dive into what ChatGPT might say in response. So first of all, pastoral care and counseling. As an expert counselor working at a Lutheran church, this is what I wrote into the chat area. Write 3 screening questions that you might use in a chatbot to connect church members with a specific member of the church counseling staff. You want to hear the questions? Here we go. What is the nature of your concern or request? Not bad. Not bad. Number 2. Are you seeking support for yourself or someone else? Again, not bad. Not great, not terrible. And number 3, I don't know what I think about this one. Would you prefer a male or female counselor, or do you have no preference? Yeah, so if the target is to route people to one of the available options, not bad, might work okay. By the way, it took about 4 seconds to come up with that response. So that's something to consider. Now, when you research at all in Google, in academia, in any of those conversations, if you research at all what you need or how to use artificial intelligence for counseling purposes, the research is almost unanimous that we're not ready for that yet. There's about a 3-to-1 ratio across a number of different cases. There's about a 3-to-1 ratio of helpful advice to unhelpful advice. Helpful guidance to unhelpful guidance. I don't think that's quite good enough to take to seriously consider using something along these lines for early stage counseling. But helping triage who should talk to who, that's probably a different conversation. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, sermon worship and enhancement. For this, I used a thing called Midjourney. Midjourney is the image generation version of ChatGPT. And you can see what I wrote into Midjourney right there. Jesus talking to members of a church in Los Angeles about following him and listening to their concerns. Here's what Midjourney gave me. Does anybody have a felt board? Because that's what it feels like. Especially these two, the two on the left. Those look like the characters we used to stick up on the felt board when I was in Sunday school when I was a kid. And I'm not sure how you tell that's Los Angeles. Maybe the palm tree behind Groovy Jesus over here. Maybe. But I will tell you that generating those 4 images took 11 seconds. After I put that prompt into the Midjourney website, 11 seconds later, it spit this out. So I looked at it and I thought, you know what? I want to try that again. I want to do a little better. So I edited the prompt to say, I didn't want it to be just a drawing. I wanted it to look like an actual photo. So I put down 8K, realistic, very detailed. And I took him out of Los Angeles. I was just in Southern California. 12 seconds later, here's what I got. All right. Could you use these in worship? I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes if you're still on Twitter, if you're one of the 18 to 25 people that are still on Twitter, along with me, and if you are, I'm surprised I haven't seen you because I'm still there. Throw into Twitter Jesus flipping over the tables in the temple. Pretty hilarious. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I looked at this image and I said, okay, well, maybe this Spanish style roof here indicates he's in Los Angeles. You know, that might be Dina's back window. You can kind of see Dina peeking out the back window here. But I still thought to myself, this doesn't really look like Los Angeles quite yet. So I decided to spend another 12 seconds and rewrote my prompt, adding takes place today, modern clothing and details at the end. This time it only took 10 seconds to generate, and here's what I got. Now we're talking. Got us some fluorescent lights, got a little Spanish architecture, you know, we've got a media center over here. You know, oh, I'm sorry, that's clearly a narthex he's standing in. There's a little joke for the Lutherans. You know, that he's standing there in the narthex greeting people, getting folks ready to get going. He said, okay, you know, yeah, you can have a little fun with that and start thinking about what it might look like to generate your images to enhance what you're doing. We have started at Fluxify. We have started doing a lot more case studies in our training than we ever have before. And we use a lot of AI generated images to support those case studies, because you can tailor them to the exact details of the case study and go along those lines. ChatGPT taught Jonathan the word narthex. No, I'm sorry, the Lutherans at St. John Lutheran Church in South Euclid, Ohio, taught me the word narthex back in the good old days. So now it's interesting. Darren says, interesting that AI assumes an Anglo Jesus. Well, I hear what you're saying. When you zoom in on the face of Anglo Jesus, he actually looks Arab to me. So that would be something I would throw out to you. But Darren, you are naming one of the big challenges of the way these AI tools have been trained. The vast majority of the content that exists on the internet has been generated and anchored by white people. The vast majority of the content that's out there. And so therefore, the vast majority of the content that was used to train the AI reflects that. Now, you could certainly tailor your prompt. As you notice, I didn't. Well, I mean, you can go back to the prompt I used. I just said Jesus talking to a member, and there is a presumption there. You know, the many more of the images of Jesus on the internet look like this guy than probably what he actually looked like. And you're going to see that. Now, the response to that, I would suggest to you, is not to be mad at the AI, but to change your prompt, ask for something different, and the AI will probably give it to you. In fact, we can try that in a moment. Now, Jill, I appreciate you're saying the institutional racism is perpetuated. I'm going to pull out racism. I'm going to say the institutional patterns are perpetuated, which have their roots clearly in racism. So that would be a key component. That is a key strategy you have to include as you use anything AI, because the vast majority of the content it has been trained on is Anglo-centric. So overcome that as a strategy. Let's look at community engagement. This one I wasn't sure what to do with. So I just threw, what are some ideas about where you can help with community engagement in a church? And it threw out, well, in about 20 seconds, it gave me 17 ideas. The one that was interesting to me was helping to think through data analytics around engagement, around how people engage with your church. I thought that was an interesting strategy. All right. Administrative support did the same thing. I'm just going to read you the top 5. Implement church management software. Oh, now we're talking. Financial management. Not sure I want the robot overlords counting the dollars, but it certainly would have the ability. Volunteer management. And I said, I asked them to tell me more about that. It would say, suggest volunteer management platforms that facilitate volunteer recruitment, scheduling, and communication. This ensures that volunteers are efficiently deployed to various church activities. All right. That'd be interesting. Communication platforms. That was a recommendation kind of tool. Online giving solutions. By the way, if your church doesn't take credit cards or doesn't allow automatic withdrawal, ACH withdrawal, I learned last night that ChatGPT can set that up for you. It can coordinate it all for you. And literally all you do is write. If you want the prompts to use to set it up, I'll send them to you. Event planning tools, digital record keeping, automated workflows, member databases. That one got me going, huh? What? So we'll come to that here in a moment. Data security and privacy compliance. Then it got to training and education, all kinds of stuff along these lines. Jill, I'm going to answer that question later. All kinds of different options. So that got me interested as we look at the next one, data-driven decision making. I said, I decided to prompt them by saying, tell me how you can help with member databases. It can set up, it can update, it can interact with your preferred platform, and all you have to do is learn to prompt it in the way that produces the result you're after. Now, I'm going to pause here because I think this partnership idea is an important one. There is a school of thought in the HR and talent development world that says, in the future, when you hire someone, you will not only be hiring them, but their digital doppelganger simultaneously. I'll tell you that I use artificial intelligence to do 3 things. They're all about video. To write and edit video scripts. I use AI to make recommendations for video editing, the actual video. And we now use a tool called Ovida, O-V-I-D-A, in our feedback platforms for our coaching student practice, because it allows us to, A, streamline the process by having an artificial intelligence engine tell me where Jill Beverlin followed the PCC markers and where she didn't. And it's, well, our last test showed, depending on the recording, it showed between 92 and 95% accurate. It's kind of mind-bending. Now, the other thing I like about it is based on those recommendations, we can add feedback to the actual sentence that the coach offers in the course of the conversation. It is a tremendously powerful tool driven by AI. It's all about collaboration. It's not about replacement, it's about multiplication and collaboration. And that really is the attitude I want to challenge you to take as you think about what this tool might make possible. Now, with that being said, to Jill's question in the chat area, am I to understand the intelligence is loaded by what already exists out on the internet with no filters to weed out what may be false, untrue, fake, etc.? I am coming to this from a huge point of ignorance. No worry. Yes, David, it could 100% punch up a sermon manuscript. I'm going to show you how in just a minute or two. That used to be the case, Jill. When these kinds of AI tools really began to make a ripple 18 months ago, there was very little fact checking or confirming that was involved. Every iteration of these tools improves in verification of accuracy, of weeding out fake news. There was a giant, well, you probably all have seen it. This probably hits home more so with a West Coast audience than it does with the Midwest audience where I live. There was a deep fake video of Nancy Pelosi where it looked like she was loaded. She was liquored up. Well, it wasn't real. Actually, the truth of that is there actually wasn't any AI involved in making that particular video, but the AI today could simulate that. They could take Daryl Kozak and have him stand on his head. Can you do that, Daryl? So if you see a video of Daryl standing on his head, you know it's fake. And then have him slurring his words on top of it, AI could easily generate something like that. Now, the thing that happens today that didn't used to happen is if I were making that video of Daryl and Daryl were a well-known public figure, I'm not sure his profile as a musician and pastor and coach is quite high profile enough to actually alert the authorities were I to make this particular video. There is maybe, Joe, you're right, maybe there are records kept of who initiates that, who first distributes that, and that gets factored into the new and upgraded AI platform usage. Now, there's a very long and very accurate set of conversations going on right now about what regulation should be applied to AI. And I would love to be able to tell you that I had a prediction about where this is going to go. But ChatGPT, for example, you can't use to generate political content. Like, for example, there was one instance not very long ago where ChatGPT was used to attempt to generate a strategy to get 40-year-old suburban women to vote for Trump. And when those same folks used ChatGPT to brainstorm an opposition strategy to work against voting for President Biden, and ChatGPT immediately flagged that account and shut it down and blocked that kind of, it's improving all the time. You can't go either direction. So to Jill's question, is this just the great unknown? It used to be. It's not ideal yet, but it's getting better. Now, the thing I love about this is if deep learning is really our thing, deep machine learning, it's teaching itself how to be better and better at only using correct information moving forward. Now, the other wrinkle along these lines is the most recent updates are literally using everything that's on the internet today and fact checking. So it's not, like I say, it's not perfect, better than it was. And if you use it as a collaborator and not a replacement, bottom line, it comes down to you to make sure that what it presents is accurate. So take that seriously, which leads me to ethical questions. Whoops. What about ethics when using AI? There's all kinds of different ethical areas, things like privacy and data security, equity and accessibility. We've hit on a couple of these already. Transparency and accountability, bias and fairness. And if you're going to use it in the church, hello, theology might be important to pay attention to. Here's what I would say to you to think through ethical compliance. Bottom line, when AI interacts with your congregation, or when you use it for developing your skills, your admin, it's two different strategies. But make sure you're clear what happens to the data. Make sure your congregation knows that you might be using AI, and have the AI show its work when it's at all possible. I've been trying to teach the ChatGPT to help me write coach training courses, the video component of coach training courses. And I want it to actually write the script and sound like me. I don't want to have to ad lib as the script is rolling by. And some of the things that the AI shows me, I think are quite, it's beginning to sound quite a bit like me. And that's because you can train AI because it's your collaborator. And ChatGPT will help. I would like to actually go to ChatGPT right now and start playing around with what that might look like. So with your permission, let's look at what that might turn out to be. Here we go, ChatGPT. So here's the here's all the research I did for this talk here in one thread. Does it give me the time? No, it doesn't say it. All right, so I thought maybe it was going to say what time I had started on it, but this is all the various things. Here's the original prompt for your Lutheran church leader. There's the original prayer. It's all in one place. So let's just see what ChatGPT will tell us. So if I were to say, your leader in a Lutheran church, ELCA, in Southern California. Now, why do you do that? Well, you always set the context for ChatGPT. If I were to just say, well, let's do the test here. Now I'm going to put in a second sentence and say, actually, you know what? I want to make sure I'm on ChatGPT more. I'm going to do the second sentence and say, write out a step by step guide to training you to produce customized content for my church in my voice and targeted to my congregation. Right? That'd be helpful, right? To have something like that to help you with this. So let's see what it comes up with. All right, so it's working. We're going to read through all of this in a second here. Let's just see how long it takes. All right. Certainly types faster than I do. All right, so let's go through this. And here I'm going to just, Sarah, if it's all right with you, I'm going to just post this entire thing in the chat area right now so that everybody has. Thanks. All right. This is what this is what ChatGPT posted for us. Oh, it's too long. Okay. My message is too long to post. We'll go through it here in a second. We'll go through it and then I'll post it in pieces. All right, training a machine learning model, step-by-step guide. Now notice it's for customizing content for your Lutheran church. Define your objectives. What message are you trying to convey? Good, yeah. You know, you're going to tell ChatGPT about all of these things. Determine the style or tone. Data collection. Now, this isn't data about the congregation. This is data about your writing previously. Really important. Gather a sample of your own writings, sermons, newsletters, social media posts. And then be sure to include the content that resonates most. Now, why would that be important? That's because that's what it's going to mimic what has worked in the past. Data annotation. Now, mark certain sections with notes, prayer. Okay, this is the kind of prayer we like. Boom, type that up. You know, this is the sermon intro. Boom. As David was saying, it sounds like I could punch up a sermon manuscript. If you find your best 3 sermons ever and type it up and run it through, now, an amazing thing will happen. ChatGPT will not only take all of that in, but after I'll show you an example of that in a second here. Model training, user gathered, mark certain sections. User gathered to fine tune. The exact methodology may vary. If you put in how to train ChatGPT into Google, it comes right up. So I'm not going to go over that right now. I'm not going to do this right now. But remember all this, and then a feedback loop. Generate some sample copy. Look at it. Offer feedback. Let me show you how my friend Andrew Davis did this with ChatGPT. See if you can see this. We're going to sync through. Make this a little bigger. There we go. My friend Drew Davis did this. This will be the last thing I show you, then we'll stop, and we'll talk about any questions you might have. Drew Davis is a buddy of mine. He's a speaker. He was working on save the date videos. He started by saying, all right, you're a masterful script writer, okay? And then he ran through things. Said, okay, no, wait, we're just gonna write some promo scripts. Very conversational. Conversational works on ChatGPT. Show you a few examples of how I write are you okay with that? Boom, of course, absolutely. How many would you like? 2 or 3 would be good. Here's example number 1, start script. Save the date video. Here's example number one. Put it all in there. This is called integrating your own voice into the large language model. Now, here's example number one, engaging in conference. So, nice compliment. All right, here's example number two. Type it in. Boom. Now, after 2 examples, ChatGPT is already summarizing your particular style. You'll get this kind of thing back. You can look at this and go, yeah, that sounds like me. No, that doesn't sound like me. Hey, Daryl, can I go 5 minutes over with questions? Okay, never mind, Daryl. Dina and Sarah already nodded, and they overrule you.
You can do whatever you want.
I appreciate that, Sarah. Script number 3. Here's a third one. Pretty good. Want some more examples? You want to see one more example. So we put 3 in and work through it. Now let's try a real one. I'll give you the events. And now you can feed it back to me. Here's the event information. And then he wrote a script. 250 words. You want to know how long it is? Rewrite it for 60 seconds. He rewrote it. Done. From what I've been told, with the edits, with this process, it took about 45 minutes to train ChatGPT to sound just like him, going through a simple iterative process like this. And here's what he ended up. Here's the loop. First of all, you integrate your voice into the existing model. Then you test it, refine the results from the test, monitor the ongoing progress, and integrate if you need it. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, Jonathan, I could write that script in 45 minutes myself. Yeah, that's true. But if you get to the place where you can put a prompt in, it takes 12 seconds to produce your script. Cumulatively speaking, it's going to help you focus very, very specifically. Somebody's going to do this with sermon writing. I'm just saying. Somebody's going to do this with, coaching coordinator, coach addresses, with talks to inspire the coaches inside of a large denomination. Somebody's going to use these kinds of things to make life way easier as a collaborator. And a lot of people are not. But there's a real potential advantage. As you can tell, I am pro AI as it stands right now, because I do think right now it is a tool that multiplies what we're capable of. And at least the way I read my Bible, I think that's a pretty healthy place to be. And that's kind of what we've been aiming for in this whole ELCA environment, is to take limited resources and multiply the impact. And with the right attitude and with the right mindset, I think this is a tool that can help us do that. So with that in mind, let's take 5 minutes of questions, and then I will have only gone a couple of minutes over, and we can then we can all figure out what comes next.
Jonathan, you were pointing out that as you refine what AI gives back to you, it can mimic your voice and create the video script or the sermon or whatever it is, sounding like you. Does AI also change how it responds to you based on how you prompt it?
Yes.
In other words, the language, the terminology, how either upbeat or not the AI responses are.
You can tailor that when you set it, when you set it up. You can tailor some of those. You can train
Jill says you can train it to be sassy.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Well, okay.
Enough said.
it can be kind of amazing about what it can do and where it can take you. Okay, write a joke about a chicken crossing a road in King James Version style. Why did the file? Oh, I didn't share that, did I? That's embarrassing. Here's what I typed in. I said, write a joke about a chicken crossing a road in King James Version style. It came back with, why did the fowl cross the thoroughfare? To get to the yonder side, verily. Yeah. And if I were to continue to do this kind of thing in this prompt, it would tailor its responses to what I'm saying. Now, to Darren's comment about how about the impact on employment in an information economy, I think that's an open question. The rules are changing. Well, the expectations are changing. I'm not sure there are any rules for employment in reality, but the expectations are changing about from employers what they expect of employees, from employees what they expect of employers. And AI is just one question. It's just one open question in that changing lens of rules shifting and evolving and morphing on a pretty active basis. I do think there will come a time when the use of AI will either be specified or be required or restricted on a job by job basis. But that day's not today. The Writers Guild strike was a great example of that. The Screen Actors Guild strike is also speaking into that, because there's all kinds of shows that use AI generated images of talent and don't compensate them for it. So it's something to consider. Joanne, you've been very quiet and very, very patient waiting for me to call on you.
Well, I'm interested in how, in the various areas of your life, as an adjunct professor, as a coach trainer, and as a developer of content, how have you found AI most useful? Because I assume you're using it quite a bit.
The place where AI saves me the most time and therefore is most useful is in editing video. I use it. I use a thing called Descript to edit video. Most of the video that it edits is used in behind a registration paywall, but we're getting ready to load out a to load up a toolkit to you're going to see a lot more of that video on a public basis. That's something we're ramping up a lot. So that's by far the biggest time saver. The biggest overall this doesn't save me as much time, but it has just as much meaning. And that is, I've done a decent amount of training of ChatGPT to sound like me. And I have it brainstorm with me, applications for an idea that already exists that I'm already thinking through. I have it brainstorm, or I have it outline things I want to cover. I very rarely do I put something together that it wrote and then put it out there. but I use it a lot for brainstorming and a lot for outlining. So I hope that helps, Joanne.
Yeah, no, it helps a lot.
Mukesh.
Thank you for your presentation. I am thinking of the theological part of this. You had said some will use it for sermon preparation or share their theological view. Who are the people who input these information, the AI, and how theologically sound? Because I know in my experience, many of us who claim to be Christians or be in the Bible don't really, in my experience. And so the challenge for me is, how do you stay the course, if you will, in your theology with the AI? I don't know if that makes sense, but
I would say that anything theological that was included, that's included in the data that trained the AI, anything theological that's included there has the same strengths and the same challenges as any other topic. That is, it's based on what's available on the internet. Now, like I mentioned to Jill's question earlier, it's beginning to be vetted more effectively. Beginning to be. But it's not ideal. That's why I think it's critical that we use anything AI as a collaborator and not as a replacement. You know, I should have actually mentioned this to Joanne as well, that the number one benefit, a very high quality benefit of using AI is this tool called Ovida, which highlights moments in coaching conversations when something notable happens. At the broadest level, it just says, hey, something notable has happened here. And then it leaves it to the human to say what. That's a benefit. Now, I think if you take a lens like that on theological questions, you'll say, hey, there is something that seems to be of God here. But it's the human operator that still has the responsibility to say what might be happening there. And so that's what I would say to you. You know, I read somewhere, Mukesh, test everything and cling to the things that are of the Father. I think that's how that verse goes. I still think that's a pretty good rule. Yeah, an additional that there could be something, that could be a helpful lens, Jill, to say an additional conflict, an additional commentary, or in 21st century language, an additional data source. So, hello, Heidi Klein. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually thinking about how to make this useful for congregations and for our smaller congregations who don't have a lot of staff and don't have a lot of resource. The way I'm currently using AI is kind of in reverse. So I drop my podcast episodes into a program that generates reel scripts and social media posts and blog posts and a newsletter. And so it's taking my voice and giving me all this content that I can use. And I would think for smaller churches who want to drop a sermon or something like that would give them sort of that ability to use their content more.
So before anybody else in the room asks, what program are you dropping those podcast episodes into?
I used Cast Magic.
Okay. All right. That's a keeper.
Yeah, it's working really well for me.
You know, I will say to you, you will have to put time and energy into learning to use these tools. But when you do, they will cumulatively save you many, many, many times more hours than you spent learning them. Without a doubt. Now, content creation, I wouldn't outsource it quite yet, but it's a pretty useful tool to collaborate around. All right, who wants the last question? All right, Daryl, go ahead and ChatGPT the prayer for the close, because I think we're done.
I actually didn't do that. I was going to do that, but I figured, I was actually so tempted to do that, Jonathan, but I thought, no, I won't go ahead and do that.
Okay,
But I will.
Just for the fun of it. Just for the
Yeah.
fun of it. All right, I'm going back to my AI in church leadership.
Let's do it again. Let's have you do our closing. Let's have our closing prayer collaborated with ChatGPT again.
Well, let's just see what it says. All right, I'm down here in the bottom in the chat area, in the entry here, as that same Lutheran leader. We've had a. I'll tell you what. This is the other thing I'm going to do. Is Daryl, when the record, send me the recording, and I'm going to drop the recording into all the various AI tools that I use, and we'll edit some pieces together. We'll show you some of these things. Maybe we'll it was Cast Magic, Heidi. Maybe we'll see what it would produce in terms of social media content. We'll generate a summary. I'll drop it into this area, and we'll have ChatGPT summarize everything we covered. You can put this on the web page as a tool along those lines. Okay, so as that same, we've had a great conversation. Just out of curiosity, in the chat area, I should have done this at the beginning and at the end of the conversation, but just thumbs up or thumbs down. Are you feeling more optimistic about AI for churches, or less optimistic, or the same? Good. Very good. Good.
I like your approach of using it as a collaborator, Jonathan. I mean, that really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think there's something there, Joanne. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No. It's just a way as a way I could see, like for a LinkedIn profile, to stick it in and say, help me edit this and make the points I want to make, essentially. And then whatever it generates, if you don't like it, you can always change it.
So I wrote, as that same Lutheran leader, we've had a great conversation about AI for churches, and most of us are more optimistic about AI. Please write us a closing prayer that is less than 100 words and sounds like a Lutheran pastor would pray it. Go. All right. Here, Daryl, I'll zoom in a little bit and you can read it.
Okay. All right. Let us pray. Lord God, as we conclude our conversation on the promise of AI in our ministry, we thank you for guiding our hearts and minds. May your light shine upon our path as we move forward, embracing innovation with faith and compassion. Bless our efforts to serve your people, and may our use of AI reflect your love and grace. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Now, that's not bad. You gotta be honest, that's not bad, right?
That was pretty darn good.
May our use of AI reflect your love and grace. That is something I never thought I would pray.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
You know, that's not bad. Now, I'm just going to say as kind of a final note here, you know, all of you, most of, not all of you know that Fluxify made a move away from working with churches a few years ago. It's been a good decision professionally, but it's been really good to be back with you all this afternoon. I say this to my wife all the time, but because my wife grew up very Missouri Synod, and I say this to my wife all the time and say, you know what, I'm just as Lutheran as you are, but I sure miss my ELCA people, because that you all are my tribe. So thanks for having me, and thanks for celebrating this interesting new thing that exists in God's kingdom.
Thank you,
Nice
Jonathan.
to have you.
Yeah,
Well, thank
awesome
you.
to have you because so many of us know you. We love you. We miss you, but we love to always engage with you and have these kinds of conversations with you when we have those chances. So thank you again on behalf of Pacifica Synod coaches for you taking time out of your schedule and being with us today and help us think and help us learn and help us know what this is all about for the church. That's what we wanted to give as a gift to the ELCA this afternoon. Speaking of our Pacifica coaches, we do meet always on the first Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And our next session will be November 2nd. We are still finalizing the details of that particular session, but for those who get our Synod e-newsletter, be on the lookout for that next event. You can always reach out to one of our Pacifica coaches here, or especially Dina Ely, who is our Pacifica coaches coaching coordinator, and she can always get you in contact with one of us and also give you the information on those upcoming sessions. So again, Jonathan, thank you for being with us. Have a blessed day, my friend, and to all of you, God's abundant blessings be with you as well.
So